Hello guys, it's been a while. This is Commando Doggo. In today's video I thought I'll show off some of my failed designs that never left the factory, because there hasn't been a whole lot of content going on in Starbase the past month, I'm not gonna lie. We do have some community events coming up, myself included, and possibly another dev sponsored event as well I expect soon, but for now it's been a bit of a drought for content, so yeah, we'll see if you at least find some of my failures entertaining. Okay, so first on the list is a battle drone, something I spent a lot of time on off camera, and what it is, it's a repurposed autonomous turret that you've already seen on the channel probably, and I just kind of repurposed the front of the auto turret, the rangefinder array, and put it on top of a heavy drone, and I added armor in front of the rangefinder so it can take a lot of hits, and additionally we also have an interior inside the drone, and I was hoping to put a console in here so I can do some controls, set passwords and things, because just like my auto turret, it was using laser designators to distinguish friend from foe, and I was going to have a console inside there which you can change the password for, while at the same time, thanks to the rangefinders, it will be fully able to detect a foreign object or a foreign ship and target and destroy any foreign ship without the use of laser designators, so you can pretty much use it against anybody while still being a teammate to your own ship if you have a hidden password for the laser designator basically. So it works very similar to my auto turrets, which you can look if you haven't seen, but it's just fitted onto a drone instead. But the reason why this did not work, I tried changing the YOLO quite a bit, but it just would not work. It's because it's just too unresponsive, it's too heavy, and I underestimated the slow thruster drag that you have with thrusters rather than a robot arm turret that's instant. The thrusters has really heavy space drag to deal with, so whenever the drone spots a target, it takes forever to turn in that direction, and then it oversteers. It has to slowly turn back the other direction, and no matter how many thrusters I throw on top of it, it's just not responsive enough. It was just really difficult to make. That being said though, I do plan to revisit the idea, maybe make a much lighter version of the drone with a better array of rangefinders, because I do think it can still work. It just really requires really high level engineering. You have to have a really good rangefinder array. Yeah, it's just going to take a lot of work, but I will try this again eventually. So you might remember the first attempt I had at a multi-crew turret. I made this tiny bunker style turret that actually could move around and be operated by someone else with mouse control, and it was okay for the most part. However, there were some major issues with it, which I'll get to it, and that's the reason why I never released it, which I'll get to in a bit. But yeah, this was the small first bunker turret I made several videos ago. It had two rail cannons, it was a robot arm turret. It had a hinge door to close and open behind, so anyone could just enter. It used default ship control, so anyone can jump in and control it. But I've since then, like right after that, I did start a new design, which was a much stronger, tougher bunker turret with 8 laser cannons, more sacrificial armor on the front. Most of it's made out of onium, which is the toughest material in the game, and we have a lot of sacrificial armor, as you can see, covering it as well. So what it is basically like a mini tiny meta ship that's a turret that anyone can sit in and fire and use as a multi-crew. And that was the idea anyway. It was supposed to be quite durable, something that anyone can use, anyone can jump into, and this was an upgraded version of the previous bunker turret, but instead of the previous bunker turret, it was a bit smaller, and I was experimenting with opening and closing tool joint arms. This one's a bit more stable. There's no opening and closing of the tool joint arms, but as a result it's a bit more stable, and it shouldn't glitch out and bug out like the first one did. And unlike the first bunker turret, we don't use any hinges to get inside. It's just built a certain way so that it can rotate up with the robot arm, so you can crawl inside and get into the seat. You can also eject the same way. Yeah, and it's just stronger, it's tougher, it's more stable, less likely to bug out. But I had to scrap this, just like so many other turrets and projects, because of several reasons that I only discovered much later, and it's a shame because this was a very good design. I did put a lot of time into this, So first off is the turntable stands. Back in the day I was using these. I got these from Callan Loki, another player, and they were able to turn turrets 360 degrees, but because they used a strange method of connecting the turntables by tiny ducts to phase through bolts so they can turn 360 degrees, it caused the turret to be less inertia resistant and also have less damage resistance, which is a bit of a weird problem that I'm always trying to figure out. And additionally to that, the turret has too much small sacrificial armor, so this is another strange problem with turrets and moving parts in general. But the more pieces of armor you have in it, it doesn't matter what the size is, big or small, the more pieces you have that can come off, it causes the turret to be more unstable when it takes fire. So if you've got lots and lots of very tiny 12 centimeter sacrificial armor like you would on a meta ship, if you do that on turrets, then generally the turret is going to lose a lot of stability once it starts getting shot at, which is just a weird, unique problem. So a lot of my later turret designs, I use chunkier armor. I still have sacrificial armor, but I just make sure that they're a bit more chunky, not quite as effective against rail cannons, but still effective. And because of that, this turret would basically need a whole redesign with chunkier armor to make up for that problem. And additionally, I'd have to redo the rotation stand as well, because I don't like the 360 stand anymore. They're a little bit unstable as well, only when taking fire. All these problems that I only really noticed from battling other players, and you can only really test from fighting other players, so it's just trial and error. I might reuse the cockpit space because it is a very good layout, we'll see, for future multi-crew, but for now this one had to be scrapped. Okay, next on the list is my next auto turret, which I haven't finished. I mean, it's not really a failed project, it's just something I haven't really done much work on. Originally, I was going to use this same upgraded array that I stole from my earlier turret with armor, but then I changed my mind and I decided I was going to reuse a similar array to the T8 Mini, one of my other auto turrets, and except I was going to upgrade it with sacrificial armor on the front of it. And this sacrificial armor, what's great about it is that it can take rail cannon hits, and none of my previous auto turrets were able to tank rail cannon hits, so they're a little bit outdated. If I'm fighting hardcore PvP players in the future, then ideally I need anti-rail cannon armor, not just thin plating like this old one here. And this chunky anti-rail armor, it's 48 centimeter oninum, so pretty much anything that's 48 centimeters or longer long side and it's made out of oninum will completely tank a rail cannon hit. If I show an example here, it completely tanked a rail cannon hit and nothing damaged the rangefinder. And that's the sort of armor I want on future auto turrets, and it's a long way off. I won't have a new auto turret for a long time because they just take forever to design. They're one of the most painful things to design, but also there's not much purpose for them right now. You don't really need an auto turret when there's barely anything happening in the live server. You don't use it for organized PvP events, they use up a ton of voxel budget, so it's just really low on the priority list. But just know that it is under construction, and I do think if the game does pick up again, I probably will take this project more seriously. It's what I started with on this channel, and I'm probably going to upgrade the T8 Mini, make it much smaller, much more updated, and have that anti-rail cannon armor on the front of all the rangefinders. I think we could have a very formidable autonomous turret if we do that. Okay, so that's it for unfinished projects. Just to finish the video, I'll show you what I'm currently working on. This is something I'm really excited about because I'm going to make my first event. I've never made my own community event on Starbase before, and I plan on making a really simple event that anyone can get into, because I do think that's a big problem with Starbase, that everything's so difficult to get into. And what that event is, it's this new giant Max Voxel ship that I'm currently building. It's you'll notice there's a lot of familiarities to my last Max Voxel, the Tortoise. This is just a placeholder for now. I stole the turret from my previous Max Voxel and I've just put it on the top there because it's just a placeholder, because this is basically going to be like a ground tank. It's going to be a Max Voxel tank that hovers just above the ground. I'm just going to have one very large turret on the top. with the cockpit as well, and we even have space for an interior, and on the interior we have a reconstruction machine, and we've got a weapons workbench and some cargo. And basically what this ship is going to be an event ship. It's going to be a boss that hovers around the moon, around Elysium City. That's the idea. I'm going to let some defenders spawn inside the ship. They can build weapons, they can respawn into the ship. I'm going to control the main turret myself here on the top while they spawn inside. Obviously it's not finished, that's why it's all breaking apart. And additionally, if I have room for it, I do plan on maybe making one multi-crew turret as well. And additionally, we have some weird plasma thrusters, which is going to take a while to explain. But basically, there's been this new plasma thruster trend going on the Discord lately. I think Senki discovered it, someone else might have discovered it a long time ago before that, but Senki brought it up anyway. And then another player, Arcanus, made some modules for it, which I kind of stole, and so did Happy Trigger, and we based our plasma thrusters off of that. And what it is, it's a very bendy plasma thruster that can go off to the sides. Instead of a very long traditional plasma thruster with an exhaust blocking everything, you can bend the plasma thruster to the side. It still counts as a valid plasma thruster, but the bonus is that you can store components inside the side rings. So we have a very small exhaust space for the main plasma thruster. The exhaust only comes out the center, and we can build a wider plasma array. So we can, instead of having a super long inconvenient ship shape of a normal plasma thruster, we can have a wider ship shape, which is more ideal for battleships. That's what I'll be using. And the exhaust just goes out the middle back, and the advantage is, because we don't have to worry about the exhaust anywhere on the rest of the plasma thruster, we can store components inside the rings. As you can see on this ship, I've stored lots of generators, propellant tanks, the whole lot, batteries, inside the side plasma rings, just like so, and that leaves us with so much extra space in the ship. So it's a small exploit, but I need every advantage I can get for this boss ship, because I plan on this being in a boss event where I have some defenders and anyone can attack me, doesn't matter how many. I'm hoping to get as many people attacking me as possible once I finish this ship. It doesn't matter if they're meta ships or not. I've built this to be as strong as possible, and that's the idea. It's going to be an event ship. We've got extra thick armor, just like the previous Max Voxel that's still undefeated so far, but this armor is even thicker. We actually have 2 layers of sacrificial squares on the top side, as you can see, so it's extra tanky. And the reason we were able to achieve this is by having much less armor on the bottom of the ship and much less maneuver thrusters, because we don't need them because the turrets will be rotating everywhere and strafing. So we've made cuts in a lot of places, and because the ship will be a hover tank and it'll be flying low to the ground, I can save that extra bottom armor and put it on top of the ship instead. And the goal is to just maximize on all these advantages, all these exploits, to make this ship as strong as possible so I can take on multiple opponents and actually have an effective boss ship for my event and get some defenders and attackers. So that's the idea. I'm quite excited for that. It'll probably take a month or something, but yeah, look forward to that. So that's it, guys. That was all my unfinished projects I remember, at least. I mean, I have many more, but they're all pretty crap and not worth showing, really. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any input, or if you'd like me to salvage any of those unfinished projects, let me know in the comments. There hasn't really been much content for the past month, I know, but we are getting some events. We're getting a community racetrack being built by some players, so I expect that will be fun for non-PvP players maybe. And as for PvP, we'll probably be getting another tournament sometime soon as well, and possibly a cargo drop, but it's hard to tell when that happens because that's on the developer's schedule. And myself, at the very least, I'll have my own community event, which will be, like I showed earlier, a finished giant Max Voxel battle train with attackers and defenders, which I hope to get done within about a month or so. So yeah, you'll have a few things to look forward to. And lastly, I do some small fights here and there against players just for fun. If you want me to upload any of that, like here I'm fighting Nick, he beat me. But if you want me to upload any of those small fights I have in between the major things, let me know, and I'll post videos of that too, because I usually don't upload everything that I do. I just upload the big stuff, like events and things. Yeah, just let me know. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed, and as usual, I'll see you in the next video.